Hey fam, I just wanted to talk to you a little bit about what's going on in our economy. There are a lot of folks who probably read the news yesterday that our economy only added about 22,000 jobs, which is not enough to sustain the type of economy that we have in this country. Most numbers have to be between 75,000 and 100,000 per month, and that just accounts for all of the people who are graduating from college, immigrants that we have that come to the country and they've gotten their naturalization or they're working here legally. It accounts for individuals that are just churning throughout the economy. And so when we look at that 75,000 to $100,000 jobs that need to be created every single month, and we see that 22,000 were created last month, that's a problem. And I know for a lot of y'all, you already see it, right? We see it. We see that this is not just a number. We see that the job openings aren't there. We see that there are people that are being laid off because of AI. We know and we understand and we feel the people who are no longer able to get a job simply because companies are scared of what is going on. So let me put a few things into context for you so that we can understand where we're going over the next couple of months and likely year or so. The US economy is not doing great. And in the future 6 months to a year, it's going to be worse. And here's the reason why. When the false king told the world that he was establishing Liberation Day, it was actually a Liberation Day for the rest of the world from the United States of America. This tariff war that has been going on for months is now starting to show its face in the actual numbers that we have already felt. If you look back at the job data for the last couple of months, you will notice that not only is it low, we had 1 month where we actually lost jobs in the United States economy. That has not happened since the pandemic. That is a big deal. And the reason why is it a big deal, because the US economy primarily is about services. If people don't have a job, they can't spend money on services. Things like going out to a fast food restaurant, things like having a cell phone, things like going out and or going to the movie theater, or different things like that, right? So if we're losing jobs or we're not creating enough jobs to sustain the economy that we have, as a result, the economy will be slowing down. And unfortunately, in our case, it's going to be a slow bleed. The reason why the tariffs are such an important part about this is because the tariffs, we're just now starting to feel them in terms of the amount of money that we're paying at the stores in the economy. The reason for that is because, believe it or not, many of the products that you're seeing today, they were ordered and shipped to the United States months ago, right? Companies plan in terms of quarters, half years, and even sometimes years in order to get products into places at the times that they need them to be there. And so when Liberation Day was pronounced or announced, there were already shipping containers and other things from around the world that were on their way to the United States. Some of those were diverted to other locations just because people didn't know whether they should deliver their products here or not. And in some cases, they just stopped the deliveries altogether. So really what we're dealing with right now is all of the ripple effect from a couple of months ago. Now that many of these tariffs are actually starting to take place and that they're being implemented, this is where not only will we feel the impacts now in terms of the jobs, but also we will feel this at the in the stores as well as in the rest of the economy going into the rest of the year, because all of those trickle effects are now starting to manifest. So expect to see that there are either going to be job losses or there are going to be continued low creation of jobs, which in effect for our economy turns into a job loss because our economy heavily relies on services. And when people don't have a job, or we don't have the number of individuals that we were expecting to get those jobs, all of these projections that we have about the United States gross domestic product, they don't come to fruition because we don't have the people going out spending the money that we expected them to spend. Already, you see CEOs like the McDonald's CEO highlighting the fact that people that are making over $100,000 a year, they're not really feeling any of the effects of what's going on in our economy. The primary people who are feeling this are folks that are making less than $100,000 a year, which is the vast majority of the American population. Those individuals are, in his words, skipping breakfast, or in many cases, they're cutting back on the amount of food that they're buying at places like McDonald's. And if we're having a problem with people going out to buy food at McDonald's, y'all, this is going to be a hard fall, a hard winter, and I am hoping that we have a better spring. But the fact of the matter is that this tariff war has torn apart all of the credibility that the United States had from a trade perspective, which gave us the cheap prices in the food stores. They gave us the cheap prices at Walmart. They gave us the cheap prices when we go to the Family Dollar or the Dollar General. Those things are going to start to increase in price if they haven't already. You're going to start to see businesses go out of business. And I'm not telling you this because I'm an economist. Primarily, I do history and political science. I have traveled the world. I've seen a lot of things, but I have also am a student of history, and I know that history does not repeat itself, but it sounds a lot alike. It rhymes. And I'm telling you that right now, this history is rhyming as it has in multiple times throughout our human history, with those times where countries have decided to move themselves out of a global interaction or an interaction with larger numbers of countries, and it has almost always not worked out well for the country that actually made those kinds of moves. That doesn't mean that there's complete doom and gloom for the remainder of our time as a country. What it means is that for at least the foreseeable future, folks are going to need to make sure that you're hunkering down with the things that you need to survive, to ensure that the job that you have or the job that you get, you're handling the basics and just sitting and waiting and watching, plotting, planning, getting ready for what comes next. Because what comes next, we don't quite frankly know. We don't know how the full force of these tariffs are going to ripple across our economy, but I can tell you right now, we're just on the leading edge of this. Y'all, I just wanted to put this out there for just a few minutes to just let folks know kind of what's going on. I know that there's a lot of confusion. Some people kind of dismissing the 22,000 jobs numbers that were published yesterday, but let that be a signal and a warning. We're in for some tough times ahead, and we need to make sure that we're hunkering down and doing the things that we need to do to prepare for what comes next. Y'all take it easy. Health, wealth, in the world.